Welcome to Mr. Podcast with Claude.
And Justin.
Hey, we're back.
Hey,
But
we
guess what?
left, but we're
Maybe
back
we
now.
never, maybe in a universe out there, we never left.
But there's also a universe where we were never there, and there's also a universe where we left, but then we came back. But there's also a universe where we left forever.
So that sounds like 6 universes total.
Yeah, I think
There's
that's how
only
many there
6.
are.
There's
That's the
okay. We
conclusion I've
just
come
we
to.
just we just wrote a scientific paper.
Maybe
This
six
is
equals infinity. You don't know that it doesn't.
no one's ever counted to 6 that I know of. I have no memory of anyone ever counting to 6.
Wow.
So that equals truth to me.
Okay.
Uh, what also equals truth is that we both saw the new Marvel movie Doctor Strange in the
Oh.
Multiverse of Madness.
Madness! Madness. Why is it
Can I
madness? We'll
just
never know.
say, to do a Siskel and Ebert bit, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Remember that thing that they did with is it at the movies?
Oh, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
and the movies
And the asshole.
and the asshole. Yeah, if you've never seen the Siskel and Ebert bloopers, you should check it out.
Ooh,
That's my phone ringing.
I figured.
A little Rapunzel from Dave Matthews
There wasn't
Band.
just a spontaneous jam in your
No, although
podcasting booth.
Spontaneous Jam sounds like a pretty good brand for jams and preserves, so like Spontaneous Jam.
That kind of jam.
Yeah,
I
you
like
open it up
it.
and you don't even know what flavor it is. That's spontaneous.
Preserves, marmalade,
Or
any of those
marmalades
sorts of
if you're
jelly, marmalade.
yeah.
Yes, yes. I
Uh,
always say marmalade,
so
except for that one time earlier.
yeah, that one
Anyway, go
time that
ahead.
she'll never be referenced again. Okay, Justin. Well, we've done a couple of reviews and discussions on Marvel movies.
We have.
What did we talk about before?
I will tell you. We talked about the
Ooh,
Avengers.
my favorite team.
Uh, we did a podcast for that. We did a podcast uh for WandaVision.
Ooh, my favorite TV
And
show.
yeah, everyone's. And we did a podcast for the Captain America movies.
Ooh, my favorite Captain America.
Yeah, it used to be mine. And then we did one for Black Widow, which
Oh,
was
my
the last
favorite Black Widow. Uh, that's an
the
insult.
last
Yeah.
Marvel movie that I actually saw
Okay.
before this one. I know there've been 3 or 4. I'm not quite sure. There's like Morbius, and then there was the one about like something something and the 10 bracelets,
Shang-Chi,
and
the Ten Rings.
yeah. I think they're bracelets. I mean, they go on your arm. I don't think they're rings.
Well,
I
I
just
mean, they're rings for certain reasons, but I think they are called other things. It's like the Affinity Stones, and sometimes they're Infinity Gems in the comics, and
mm-hmm.
so maybe there's another word for it. More to
Yeah.
your liking.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I mean, they're certainly ring shaped, but bracelets are ring shaped. So, anyway.
Yeah, but are they bracelets because he wears them on his wrists? Because
Yeah.
what if that's not their intended function, and he just happens to do that? Like
Well, he made him a
if you put
bracelet. I mean, if you
shoes
put them on his
if you put
fingers, he makes them a
shoes on
ring.
your head, did you
Yep.
turn your shoes into a
It's a hat.
hat?
Yeah, you did. Good
So
job.
you would say take that hat off your head and
Transfiguration. Yeah, I
oh,
would.
words change reality. Well,
They
this is
do.
on topic for Doctor Strange too. Uh, we're so good at
Yeah.
tangents that somehow we're always on topic.
You can do anything. Yeah, if you put whatever you put, wherever you
Wherever you
put
put
it, it becomes
something, the
that thing.
place it That's how prestidigitation works. You put the rabbit in a
Well,
hat. Guess what? The rabbit comes out of the hat. Uh,
I'm just saying, like, if, I mean, just the traditional meaning of ring is something to be worn on a finger,
but is
like
that the
Lord of the
traditional
Rings.
meaning?
Yeah.
In what context?
In the context of the English language. what what context are you thinking
Okay. Well,
about?
I'm just like, are you saying like because obviously it's a ring, and rings existed before they went on an ear or a finger. Like they would
I don't
predate
think
their
they were called
use.
rings though, were they? Well, I don't know the history of the word ring actually.
That's what I'm wondering here is
Hold
how
on.
certain on the history of the word ring are you?
All right, I'm not super certain. I just know, okay. All right, I mean it has many meanings, of course.
Mhm, mhm.
But let's just see here from the Middle English. Yeah, okay. So it goes back pretty far. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, sure. By the definition, like could you call it a ring? Sure. But by that very definition, you could call most bracelets a ring. And yet
Yeah,
people don't usually do that.
yeah.
Usually call
Well,
them bracelets when you wear
yeah.
them on your
But there's a
arm.
reason they do that to make because there's another word for them, like bracelet.
Yeah, so that's what I'm
um,
saying. The 10 bracelets.
yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I just
Well,
think that's what it should be.
that's definitely not as catchy. Um,
Yeah, I know. It doesn't sound very good. And I totally understand why they wouldn't use it. But when they said the 10 rings, I just figured they'd go on your fingers and your
mhm.
thumb, one for each digit. It just seems obvious, but they don't do that.
No.
So it just threw me. Obviously, I know
Actually,
nothing
I
about the
think yeah,
movie.
no, actually, I think if I, from what I know, that they so the rings change size, and so I think they can be finger rings.
Oh,
Yeah,
they changed size.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
yeah. If I'm not mistaken, they can be finger rings because you might remember that um, from Iron Man 2, I believe, when they introduced the Mandarin character who turns out to be, the Ben Kingsley character, and he turns out to be not really the evil character named the Mandarin. Do you remember that? Did you see that movie? I'm
I have
assuming.
not seen
Oh,
that.
okay.
No, I
You
only
saw the
saw the
first one.
first
Oh,
Iron
okay, okay. I
Man.
thought you saw the first two.
Yeah, where it was Jeff Bridges. Yeah, no, I never actually saw the sequels.
Well,
So,
they're connecting the Ten Rings in this movie and the character of the Mandarin back to that whole thing. So it's a
okay.
whole thing. But anyway, Doctor
This
Strange
is why you have to
2.
be on this podcast because, like, you can fill me in on this lore
Yeah,
because I'm so not an expert, and there's like so much of this stuff I haven't
yeah.
seen, and
I'm
there's
not an
not
expert
just
either, but I know a little bit.
more than I do. That's
Yeah,
all I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
you can fill in some of these gaps because it's not just like the MCU. There's also like comic book outside information. There's all kinds of stuff
yeah.
informing these things, and so yeah, I just come at it very naive, and like what I see, I assume that's all there is, and
Hmm.
so yeah, you can help with that because there's definitely some
Yeah.
points of confusion that arise from a lack of knowledge. So,
Okay,
uh,
well, let's talk about Doctor Strange 2.
okay,
And we'll go from there.
cool. Do you want to give your sort of overall thing first, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, you can go first.
You want me to go? Okay. So, what can I say? Let's see. So,
Actually, real
like,
quick, remind us
okay.
what Marvel stuff you've seen.
Oh, okay. So, well, I've seen all the stuff we podcasted about that I mentioned for that you just heard.
Hmm, hmm.
In addition to the stuff that we podcasted about, I've also seen Thor Ragnarok.
Okay. Yep.
Not the previous Thor movies, but Thor Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
Ant Man and the Wasp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The two Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Okay.
Um, and the first Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Um, am I forgetting something?
You saw
Uh,
WandaVision.
well, yeah. That's a podcast thing. Um,
Oh yeah.
so yeah, I was trying to set that stuff aside. And yeah, maybe that's it. And then
You saw
Avengers.
Black Panther, right?
Black Panther. I forgot about Black. Yes, Black Panther. That's another one. Yep, that was the first one
Oh,
besides Iron Man.
and
That I saw.
you didn't see Captain Marvel,
Oh, I saw Iron Man.
and you saw Iron
All
Man.
right, the first Iron Man. I mentioned that earlier, and yes, I did see
Oh,
Captain
you
Marvel.
did.
I
Okay.
forgot about that
Okay,
one.
so you did see it.
Damn it! Yeah, I totally saw that one.
Yeah.
Yep,
You've
yep,
seen a
hundred
lot. You've seen a
percent.
good number of them at least.
I have. Yeah, I'm
You caught
not.
up
I'm not
a lot.
completely like
Yeah.
ignorant of this world. It's just that I haven't seen all the Iron Man movies. I haven't seen all the Thor
Irons Man,
movies.
please.
Irons Man. I haven't seen the first Hulk. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen Spider Man. I haven't seen any of those.
Okay.
Like there's
Yeah.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
It's really hard to see them all, and I've seen a good selection. I kind of used the Avengers as a springboard, and the characters that I enjoyed the most that were the ones that I wanted to pursue into the movies,
Mm-hmm.
the individual movies.
Mm-hmm.
It was sort of like a sampler kind of thing. Which is kind of how they run this show. Um, so yeah, that's my context
Gotcha.
for
Okay.
this. So yeah, like if there's stuff in here that's not referencing one of those things that I've seen, then I probably didn't understand it. um that's certainly happened before. I remember there was that thing about Bucky being like in Wakanda
Mm-hmm.
in Black Panther, and everyone, oh my God, Bucky, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking. Like if you don't know, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, Bucky,
Yeah.
that's fine,
Yeah.
good. So uh yeah. I was excited for. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you two reasons why I was excited about it. So the first reason was that reason the first was that it was sort of advertised as a follow-up to some of the stuff from WandaVision,
Yep.
which I enjoyed. And I was into the idea of like getting more on that, the place where they end it.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then the other thing was the idea that it's gonna be horror or something. I was sort
Mm-hmm.
of interested to see what that would be like in this sort of uh Marvel you know uh world where you know like um they like have a way of like no matter what kind of thing they're doing, they have a way of doing everything in like sort of a certain way, and so like everything
Mm-hmm.
gets brought back to that at some point. So anyway, I was just interested to see like how they would do that, as opposed to like um say Ant-Man being a heist thing, or
Mm-hmm.
Captain America being a spy thing, like so I was interested in that idea. uh and well, what can I say? uh where to begin? No, just for a brief sort of summary, we can get into the finer points of things. I found it entertaining. I was pulled along. I didn't find myself disinterested in the plot. It was, suitably exciting, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, um I I think probably my favorite part of it is the Flash Sideways universes where
Mhm.
they have like slightly different things going on, and we get like, Professor X from the old
Mhm.
X-Men movies showing up. That was a surprise. And like Captain Britannia or something,
Mhm.
like I like that idea of like
Yeah.
um another universe where it's just different, and they call themselves the Illuminati, which I thought was hilarious. It's fun. Like I really do feel like there's like there's a way in which some of this Marvel stuff with Infinity Stones and rings and Darkhold and secret knowledge and secret books that is like a little bit Dan Brown, like
Mhm.
there's it's like if he was into superheroes, like he might write something like this, like
Mhm. Mhm.
it's just like, but he sets his stuff in the non superhero containing world, so it's fucking Tom Hanks or whatever. But
Yeah.
like, I don't know, there's definitely that kind of thing happening. um so anyway, I enjoyed all that. That was kind of fun. I was hard pressed to even remember who the villain was in the previous Doctor Strange movie. I had to look it up.
Mhm.
um and we talked about the villain in Black Widow, being really crappy,
Yeah.
even worse, I think.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
like, like, not forgettable, but just like I remember how boring it was,
Yeah.
very clearly. Um, so like putting like Wanda sort of in that role, developing that thing and like connecting to the WandaVision plot in
Mhm.
sort of a way that we can talk about. Made me care about it more.
Yeah.
I was like more invested in the thing. It wasn't just like some random asshole shows up and
Yeah.
Doctor Strange has to fight this asshole, and like,
Yeah.
okay. And then we're gonna get like
Yeah.
rooms moving around, and they're gonna like he's gonna move his hands like this, and
How you really feel?
there's gonna be like some circles on his hands,
Mhm.
and he's gonna like, and his cape's gonna like fly around, and
Yeah.
like there's like things you can expect no matter what Doctor Strange movie it is,
Yeah.
you're gonna get that. So anyway, like I kind of like that. The finer points of like what actually is going on in the plot, what Wanda wants and why, and sort of how that works. Not wasn't the biggest fan of that, for reasons we can get into. But I cared about the characters more, so that just engaged me more. But I guess like if I was going to compare it to Black Widow, I would say like the villain part of the story is like a lot better, but like I think it doesn't quite have the fun like banter stuff that Black Widow had, like
Mhm.
um you know uh with her and her sister and the guy
Mhm.
from Stranger Things.
Mhm.
I don't remember those characters names, but something Russian. Anyway, uh like all that stuff was like really entertaining, and even though the rest of the movie was bad, like I enjoyed those scenes or just hanging out.
Yeah.
Like there's not really a lot of that, at least for me, like on that level in this movie. So that's the only thing I didn't like as much as Black Widow. But I think overall, like
Mhm.
it's more successful. um and yeah, I think most of the stuff that bothers me about it like you know um comes down to stuff related to thinking about the multiverse,
Mm.
like just being a little confined in a weird way, like what they actually do. Even though they show like some variety, there's still like it's sort of in a box. And so anyway, that I guess I feel like that idea is cool, but I don't know if they fully reckon with it because it's such a big idea.
Mhm.
Maybe the idea is too big for one movie or something. But
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say
um
that because they've set up the multiverse concept in a few of the previous things. So, kind of going into this movie, like one of the big things they did was the TV show What If that's on Disney Plus from last
oh
year.
yeah, right, right.
So that basically was so they talked about the multiverse um, before in one of the movies. Then they talked about it. It was pretty big idea on Loki, and
Ah, okay.
then What If further expanded that in terms of it was What If is based on the comic series, which is literally called What If, and it's just like what if like instead of T'Challa becoming Black Panther, what if he was abducted by the Wandu and the aliens who took Quill and Guardians of the Galaxy? And so, what if T'Challa becomes Star Lord, right? So it's like what if
Ah,
Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers, right?
mm-hmm.
She would become Captain Britain or whatever. And so the is actually really, 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 really good. There's several episodes that are really phenomenal. The Doctor Strange one is actually really, really good. But so it kind of expands the whole lens, and that's what Marvel is so good at doing is introducing concepts 2 and 3 movies or TV shows ahead of when it actually is going to play out. So they feed you bit by bit, like, a little bit of these big ideas. And then by the time, if you've seen everything, by the time you get to like this movie where now they're actually going to deal with it, they can like take shortcuts into explaining it because most of the audience is familiar with the concepts, which is just super smart. And it's even rumored that they did that in this movie with the phrase incursions. So this idea of universes colliding ties into a comic series that's really, really popular. So even like here, they're dropping they're dropping the hints of those words the same way like they set up the Infinity Stones, right? Before you see Thanos and before you see him trying to get the gauntlet and all the stones, like they've set up all of these things over all the movies, so that when like they have to actually play out the plot, it's like it's just a lot easier because you spent the time understanding it. Um, I really like this movie. I was very, 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 very excited to see it. Like when I saw the first Doctor Strange movie, I was like, okay, didn't love it. There's a lot of parts I liked, but I feel like a second movie is going to be better. A second movie, because when with me and magic powers, like the more the better. Like if I'm gonna watch it, I want to see cool stuff. I want to see big ideas. I want to see stuff I haven't seen before. And I was like, a second movie, I think, because the first movie is all about him becoming Doctor Strange, basically becoming the Sorcerer Supreme, and what you see over the rest of the story lines that he's been in from the movies and stuff is him grow his power. So it's like, okay, by the time he gets to like Doctor Strange 2, he's going to be the most powerful he's ever been, right? And then learning that Wanda was going to be in the movie, I was like, damn, she just came off of WandaVision. She just came off to being the most powerful. Discovering she's a Scarlet Witch, and then like getting the Darkhold and reading about what that even means, and then like reading about all the other crazy stuff the Darkhold would show her. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna be the most powerful she's ever been. Okay, great. This movie's because then I'm like, okay, well, if they're, I originally thought they were teaming up together to face some villain. So I was like, wow, who's the villain gonna be if like the two most powerful magic wielders like on the planet are going against a person? Like, who's this villain gonna be? So, I was delighted and surprised to see the villain was Wanda. And I thought the way that they wrote her character to become the villain was really well done. And it really is just in line with her whole trajectory as a character. She started out as an antagonist, you know, and kind of came to the light side and like fluctuated back and forth. And obviously, WandaVision was all about that whole thing. Is she a hero or a villain and all that stuff? And so, yeah, to see them like play that again with her was really, really cool. And yeah, I love the actual main part of the plot. I thought it was, it was one of those classic plots where it's like, oh no, a random stranger in trouble. It's like what you see on like an episodic TV show. It's just like random guest star of the week needs help.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it like felt at the beginning, but once the plot actually got going, I thought it was really really good, and all the stuff Strange did was just Benedict Cumberbatch. I mean, he's just the best. I mean, I just when he's that character, and same with Wanda. I just think like when they're on screen as those characters, like I just can't stop watching. They're just so good. And Yeah, I love the kind of misdirection, where you see the months. It's because I saw the movie twice, so I got to catch a couple little things the second time, and what you catch is like in the beginning, they know that um, the monsters are chasing the girl, America, and and she says, "Yeah, a demon sent these monsters after me." So it's like they're already, And I remember when I first saw the movie, thinking that was just like a theory. It reminds me of how we talk about Lost, where like when she
Mm-hmm.
said that, I just thought that was a theory of hers that a demon sent these monsters as a henchman or whatever, and then we'd find out the real answer later. But it's no, actually no. Basically, a demon did do that, and the demon was Wanda. So then when you go and Strange goes to visit Wanda before, seeing that scene, knowing she's the demon who sent the monsters, it's really interesting to watch it, knowing like she's just playing him the entire scene, and pretending, and then of course has a misstep and he figures it out. But yeah, anyway, to sum up my general feelings, yeah, I really really liked it. It was exactly what I wanted the movie to be. The horror stuff really hit well. It was kind of weird because when I saw the movie the first time, I think I just wasn't. I was just so into the movie that I didn't really think about what I watched, because I was like, I saw it and I liked it, and I was like, oh man, but where's all the horror stuff? I thought this was supposed to be a horror movie. Like, where's all the
Mm-hmm.
horror? And then I watched it the second time. I'm like, oh yeah, it's wall to wall horror. Yeah, I mean, like it's hitting all the tropes. It's doing all the things. And then I watched it with my mom and sister, and they were like, "Yeah, you didn't tell me this was going to be scary." And I'm like, "Yeah, for most people, this is horror. This is what they would expect from a Marvel going into the horror territory. And of course, having a witch character, you're already there. So
Right. Right.
yeah. So oh, I also wanted to mention. So yeah, I mentioned about the multiverse stuff being set up and like what if. And the Illuminati also is from the comics. It's basically a team like the Avengers, but it's just like a different makeup, a different kind of team with a slightly different mission. And
Oh, right. That's why I mentioned Dan Brown. I
mm-hmm,
forgot by the time I got to that. Anyway, yeah, 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 yeah. I'm not surprised.
mm-hmm.
They usually base it on something from somewhere.
Yeah, I also like that both characters have that quality of being like anti-heroes, right? Because even in this movie, they kept harping on the fact they're like, "Yes, Steven, like in all the multiverse, you're the biggest threat. Like you're the one who we usually have to worry about." And it's so interesting having a character like that who you want them to get as much power as possible to protect people and to do the mission or whatever reason you like them, but then it's that double-edged sword, right? And even how the movie opened with him about to try to take her power from her, at the kill her, but it's like, wow, sorry, I got to do this, which I found really interesting. As it's an anti save the cat moment, as they would call it. um but knowing this character, right, like, so you couldn't do that in like the first Doctor Strange movie, right? You couldn't introduce a character like killing an innocent girl and be like, yeah, get on board with him, everybody. But
Mm-hmm.
like knowing what he's been through, like if you look at Infinity War, right, in game, and him like going through 14 million and five, calculations on how to win, and seeing that much death and destruction, like he's like yeah, he wouldn't blink twice, to steal her powers to save not just the universe but the multiverse, right? So when I saw that, I was like, oh man, it's crazy they're doing this, but it's like it actually feels normal for him to make that calculus like that. because how long he's been like dealing with these huge like crazy problems. And I thought they did a good job with like again like you were talking about with the multiverse, how they use the multiverse, like being able to do things like that, but they not really count. That was a different Strange, but so it's kind of the character, but not really the character.
Right.
Um, I thought they did that kind of stuff pretty well, and yeah, I was a pretty big fan of all the big set pieces. There really isn't much I really complain about the movie. I think it's was so much more entertaining than Black Widow to me. I agree with you. Black Widow, the maybe like the parts that were entertaining maybe were really really good, but as a movie to watch, it's just like yikes. I do want to go back at some point and just see it again, but yeah, that movie again, that was something I was really looking forward to, but was disappointed by. And I think there's something to be said about a movie like being made that's like um, this retroactive thing, after the character's already dead,
Yeah.
and we already know where she gets to by the end of her story. So somehow they have to write a version of her that has a
Yeah.
character arc, but not really, and not a full. It's like it
Yeah.
just seems like it just was a recipe for
Yeah, yeah,
disaster.
that was a big problem, definitely.
um, and yeah, where they get to with Doctor Strange by the end, I think feels really cool. Like I'm ready for the next one. Charlize Theron shows up at the end, where I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, just when you thought things are gonna go back to normal, like enter big name celebrity cameo. Um, and it's so weird. It's so weird how the MCU, has like sucked in all of these big talents. Um,
Yep.
I there was this thing going around about Tom Cruise. I think was originally courted to be Iron Man, the original Iron Man,
Oh,
and I think there
mhm.
was something rumored or a fan theory that he might show up as Iron Man on the Illuminati Council in Doctor Strange.
Mm.
But anyway, I just mentioned that because I think Tom Cruise is like one of the last big actors to not be a comic character. So
Mhm.
I'm just waiting for the day he shows up in something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess he can not do it if he doesn't want to, but yeah, I'm sure, depending on his level of commitment, like it seems like that could happen at some point.
All it takes is the right character and the right opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Otherwise, yeah. Let me think. What else? I think the weakest part is probably just how the America plot line. She doesn't have time to really have any show any of her character really. Um, she's kind of the
Yeah.
MacGuffin, basically. She's just
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of the Fifth Element,
yeah,
that part of the
yeah.
story. Like,
Mhm.
just let's run around with this girl. She's got a power that she can't control, and I
Mhm.
gotta she protect her from these other people. And,
Yeah, yeah. It's like a completely fine vehicle for storytelling, but it just of its on its own, it's just not that interesting.
yeah.
Um, uh, and then especially when like the turn at the end was it's like, oh, America, use your power. I can't control it, but yeah, you've been controlling it this whole time. It's just like, oh yeah, I have. You're right. Thanks.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you were kidding me. Wow, I have
Oops.
egg on my face. I've been controlling
How
it this whole time.
embarrassing.
Yeah, who knew? Every time it was uncontrollable, but I guess the difference between controllable and uncontrollable is nothing.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. What else? I'm trying to think. Any other? Well, one of the big things I loved. I mean, love is first of all when Strange does the dream walking and he goes into the body of the other Strange, the dead one,
Hmm.
and we get zombie Doctor Strange. And
Right.
zombies were actually one of the episodes of What If. It was what if a zombie outbreak happened. So there were several things in this movie that called back to what if to the what if world. Um, well, because of the multiverse stuff. And
Mhm.
but when he, so I love zombie Doctor Strange, and then when the spirits are attacking him and stuff, and Christina's like, "You're a sorcerer. Use the spirits." I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what's he gonna do? Like, use them? Okay, huh? And then he like conjures some spell to like repurpose them for his own use into the creepiest cape ever. And then he's
Mhm.
flying around with it, and then he uses them to like fight Scarlet Witch. That to me is just like, I'm just like, thank you very much. This is what I paid to see, because I'm like, what am I watching? This is the most ridiculous thing ever. But like the 5-year-old in me is just like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just it's one of those things when like a character like, and when they do this in movies, like when a character like can overcome something or whatever they're is fighting them, they can use that to their advantage, kind of thing. That's the thing I like to see, and it was a creative way to kind of do that. Plus, he looked badass, and it was, obviously fits the horror trope. Um, but I thought that was cool because he's like throwing throwing spirits at Scarlet Witch, and she's like, ah, what am I supposed to do with this? This is a new tactic. I don't really know what to do with this. Okay, because they're like eating her magic, like they've got a natural resistance to her magic and stuff. So like, yeah, it was cool to see like that counter, because that's what I love about characters like Doctor Strange. These like tactician characters, like Batman, and they very often don't live up to the potential that they kind of show like in other forms, like in comics and stuff, where the writers have time to like really make it really interesting. But like,
Mhm.
or like a Sherlock Holmes character, like you want to see these characters do something, that no one else can do. And so yeah, that was one of those moments where he like outsmarted the entire situation, and did something cool that we haven't seen him do before. Like you said, with Doctor Strange, you're gonna get some circles on your hands, and stuff like you're gonna see a
Mhm.
flying cape, and
Yeah.
someone's gonna be falling, and the cape's gonna go get him. But can I tell you how much I love that cape? Like as a character, that cape is one of the best characters ever written. Like,
I'm gonna say it's probably the best cape
I
character I've ever
mean, I
seen.
mean, like, yeah, for an inanimate object, it's got so much heart and so much passion and so much loyalty. It's
Yeah, it's sort of written like a
insane.
pet, like,
Yeah.
that's kinda how it
Mhm.
behaves.
Mhm.
So that makes it kind of endearing, I
Yeah. Oh,
think.
it's so endearing. Like it's wiping stuff off its face. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, it's
right.
crazy. It's crazy how much they get out of that damn
It's got a
cape.
personality, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I agree, I like that idea.
Um, well, live long enough to see yourself become the villain, right, Wanda? Um, yeah, I think it's so interesting that how dark and deep they have kept her character over the course of her screen time, in the depths. I mean, no character. I mean, not as a competition, but few characters have gotten to play as low as her, um, and has had to lose so much. And I thought it was really cool to hear her say in this movie, that from her perspective, she felt like she sacrificed Vision for nothing. And I didn't know she thought that.
Mhm. Yeah, I was surprised by that also,
Yeah,
yeah.
even though we saw her in the aftermath of all that in the movies, and we saw her in the aftermath of that on her show, still did not ever hear that articulated. That
Yeah.
she felt like she sacrificed him for nothing. It didn't really mean anything, and that was fueling all of this guilt and rage and anger and stuff too. So I thought that was really cool. It's just the fact that they get to have, they get to allow these characters to have the time to have these emotions on screen. And I know like villains have gotten a lot more focus over the last few decades in terms of storytelling and stuff. But I feel like she's just a great example, of a character who's had a really great like character arc and like the same way like oh Thanos, you saw your planet die of unequal resources and
Mm-hmm.
now you're motivated to restore balance in the entire universe. Okay, I don't believe it. But it's like, oh, Wanda, you lost your parents when you were a kid and your brother when you were young, and now you lost the man of your dreams, and then you conjured some children and lost them too. Okay, I get it. And now all you want is to like be with them, and I even like that she was like, listen guys, I'm just gonna go be with my kids, you won't see me again, like I'm retiring, like it wasn't that classic villain move of like, I'm once I get my goal, like things are gonna be horrible forever. It's like, no, actually once I get my goal, like I'm done. Now of course you can't trust her because she wants the power and you don't know what she'll do with it one day. But
Right.
I still like that idea of just like she's not trying to be villainous. And I even like the nuance that they went to when they were like, this was her being reasonable. Sending the henchman monsters was her being reasonable. Her like even the like the attack on the sanctuary place was like not as bad as what she could have done. And I like that part that too of like her like I'm gonna get what I want. I'm the antagonist. I'm gonna fight for what I want, but like I'm not like evil incarnate. I'm not just gonna kill everybody because she literally could. She could literally whisper and like you like kill everybody on planet Earth like if she wanted to. So she's not that bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I mean the villainy is very confined um to like a particular thing.
Hmm.
Um it's like, you know, she she wants America so she can get access to this other universe, you know. Um
Hmm.
it's a very small issue really. Um which is, you know, kind of an interesting thing about the story.
Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, so let me just get into like the things that bothered me about it,
Okay.
like on a plot level. Okay. So, I mean, there's a few like minor things, but I'll just jump to like the core thing and then I'll just mention the random crap as it comes up.
Okay.
So like the core thing is, no, I have to mention this first. So they introduced this idea that um that like when you dream, you're dreaming of
Hmm.
yourself in another universe.
Yeah.
Um and then there's this thing where it's like America's like there's only one of me and that's why I never dream, and like okay.
Hmm.
I I find that a little weird, but fine. It's like it reminds me of the Matrix, you know, like a weird
Hmm.
attempt to like explain some human thing, you
Yeah.
know, like mythology, like ooh, what if it's this, like okay.
Hmm.
And it's like oh god, all those universes are like really weird and like they don't make any sense, like
Hmm.
I don't know, at least that's me for my dreams anyway.
Yeah. But
um
with an infinite multiverse, that should be true, right?
they have they have uh well, yeah, I mean potentially, but they have like um the world they live in is crazy, you know. And this is something we talked about in like Civil War, you know, the idea of like let's put like restrictions on these superheroes, like we gotta
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
clamp down on this because we can't have a monster, we can't have like Manhattan destroyed every week, like this is not a sustainable way to
Can
live,
you
you know.
imagine the traffic?
Exactly, exactly. And I did think that in part in this movie as well, like god, living as a normal person in this world like would just freak me out. I just want to like move to the countryside, but then you end up in the middle of WandaVision or something. It's like you're not safe anywhere you go. Like
Yeah, so maybe that's why you vote to round up mutants and destroy them.
maybe I do. Maybe we need to, I mean, they're a threat. No,
That's
I
why,
think
yeah,
it's sensible. Like it's sensible to think about how to do that because, I think the world has trouble when there's instability, and this is just like
yeah.
so off the chart. But whatever, that's a general point that I've already made, so I won't go on about that. That's just how it is. So, that I feel like that makes the difference between dream and the real world like less of a problem because it's like, well, if I live in that world, like who gives a shit if like
Yeah.
it's my house, but it's also the post office or, like whatever, like it's fine. Um, okay. So, right. So, right. So we see, so we see Wanda, dreaming about her kids,
Uh-huh,
and
uh-huh,
these are the kids. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I
uh-huh.
didn't actually check the credits or anything,
It's
but
them.
I think they're meant to be the kids from WandaVision, right?
They're the kids from WandaVision, yep.
So, like, right off the bat, I'm just a little unsettled by this idea because, you know, in WandaVision,
Mhm,
she conjures them from her mind,
mhm.
you know I mean, initially, when they introduce, it's just like, oh, whatever, like suddenly, like, look, it's twins. Like it was really weird, like the way they introduced them,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking like, can Vision procreate? Like I don't know, the whole thing's a bit, since he's like a robot
Mhm,
android kind of thing. Like I don't know, there's really some questions there about the feasibility of that. But it didn't really matter in the end once they reveal, oh, Wanda was creating that whole thing, right?
mhm.
So, so it's no big deal. Like this is all in her mind. So I mean, there were people there, but not the kids.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously to make a distinction, it wasn't in her mind, it was from her mind.
well, okay, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It was all
yeah,
real.
yeah. I mean, like, what am I saying? The existence of the kids like was manifested from in her mind. That's
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say. But
yeah.
anyway, yeah, the whole thing didn't take place in her head. Obviously, it was a physical because there were real people there,
Yep, yep.
being like controlled basically.
Mhm,
Um, so right. So in this alternate universe, and it's only one, I don't know why, but it's only one. I mean, infinite possibilities. Surely there's more than one, but it's only one. That were shown at least. She has these kids, and I guess we're meant to believe, although I wasn't 100% clear on this because they don't really establish the context, but I guess we're meant to believe that these are not, you know, products of her mind in this universe, that she's not living in the middle of a
mhm,
bubble
mhm.
that she created and conjured them. I
Yeah.
mean, never mind the coincidence of doing the same thing, but like, so like she actually had them like biologically. Like I assume we're supposed to believe this.
Yes.
um okay, so I won't worry too much about who the father is because that's another question that bothers me. But why do they look exactly the same as the one she got from her head? Like that just
Well,
seems so unlikely.
I think well, I think it could actually you could look at it a different way and say it's actually really likely, right? Like that if she was going to conjure children and she's got these kids that exist in the other universes that she's got some kind of connection to them, and so that's what she would sort of subconsciously manifest is like her real kid. She basically manifested her real kids. Like she has real kids, versions of her out there have real kids, and so she manifested her real kids.
But
Like
like, why
like she
only one? I mean, shouldn't there be infinitely many ones where she has all kinds of other kids or no kids or like it just feels so weirdly contained. Like why is it just this one thing? Why is it just
for the
These
simplified
kids only.
storytelling, for the story. I mean, I think the honest answer is for the storytelling. I mean, there's a in-world answer that like that. Yeah, in an infinite multiverse, then there should be all infinite types of kids she has, right? But these characters haven't visited, nor do they have the power to like um, see into the real infinitude of the multiverse, right? Like even the girl who, even America, had only traveled to a handful of them herself, and she was the one who actually had the power, right? So and they're so I'm just gonna throw a bunch of stuff on the table as an answer, and so I'd also throw on the table that there might be like an in-world comic answer about how universes are connected, so maybe similar universes are closer together, so if you know what I mean, or something like
Hmm.
that. So there could be some proximity thing, because we do see her, using the dark hold spells to kind of look into um universes, and it seems like she, had access to quite a few. Obviously, she didn't see an infinite amount. Okay, so I'll throw that on the table. The other thing I'll throw on the table is she could have been looking for those kids specifically, because those are the ones that she had. Those are the ones that she fell in love with, that she manifested. So it could have been like, oh, here's a universe where I have two daughters, but that's not the one that's my kids. So that I would throw that on the table as well. But I think you're just supposed to suspend your disbelief, and yeah, things happen more straightforwardly than you would expect with infinite, when you're talking about infinite things and randomness and chaos and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But that's the other thing too, is like their powers, like these people's powers, like there's an intuition part of it. There's like a the same way that like when Thanos is gonna snap with the Infinity Gauntlet and destroy half of the life in the universe, like there is some concentration he has to have on his part in order to, like, what you want to call that, a wish or whatever that command or wish is, or whatever, however he wants the outcome to be. He does have to have some focus and concentration, but there is some other quality to how all that those powers work, that's like on an intuition subconscious basis, and it's funny I say that, because case in point is like America's powers, right? Like her powers were she was subconsciously opening portals to places she needed to go to, so that's just an example of that too. So like, again, like when I say like Wanda, when she conjured kids out of magic, like the fact that she got what her real kids are, some in other universes, like isn't surprising to me, because her powers would have brought forth something like that. That seems reasonable to me, versus like some random other thing before, and then of course there's all the production reasons, right, of why it's those kids.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing. Like, I'm tempted to say that no matter what kid she thought of, there should be a universe where she has those kids. But then there are like some there are
Yeah,
some like DNA limitations. I mean, if it's really her on the, molecular level, like she shouldn't be
I
able to
think.
just, but she could theoretically think of herself as having any kids. So there really should be a way for her to think of kids that she couldn't have in any universe. But anyway,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
a
I think
minor point.
I think the idea was, this is the universe where she doesn't have kids, is the universe that she wasn't with Vision, and in most other universes, she ends up being with Vision, to some degree. I think is the idea, and that's why that if Vision didn't die, they would have, you know done Vision's plan and moved to Westview and settled down and had kids.
Right, right.
Okay, what's your other sticking point? Your
Oh,
other
okay. No, no, no. So like just to stay on that a slight bit more before I run it into the ground. Um like in my mind there's two ways it could go. Like like A, she was dreaming of them before WandaVision, and that's where she got the idea of what they should look like, right? Or two, she conjured them, And then, subconsciously, if you like, she went looking for a universe where she had kids that looked like the one she conjured, you know? But I mean, there's really no indication that either of those things happened, but either one of those feels like a way that it could make sense, in my head at least.
Wait, and so you're wait, so what's the your original sticking point? Is that it doesn't make sense because of what?
I just think it's weird that, I mean, all the similarities are kind of weird, uh obviously with infinite possibilities you're going to have some stuff in common, and that's fine. It's just the particular circumstance of conjuring kids from your head, but then another universe where you have those same kids but it's for real. That was my original thing.
But don't forget, and this is my favorite line in the movie, and this might answer your question to a certain way. Uh, Doctor Strange says towards the beginning, he's like, Wanda, you don't have any kids. You conjured them. You made them out of magic, and she said, every mother does. I love that line. I think it's one of those lines that there's just something special about being able to write a line like that. Those lines that feel true. It's like what? But okay. Um, so I think that answers your question to a certain degree. That I really think it has something to do. I mean, whether or not you think it's weird, obviously you think it's weird. But I think in
I
terms
don't
of
mind
an
that she's
answer,
attached to the kids,
yeah,
I'm
I
not.
think I think her powers. I think the way her powers worked, they this like they gave her like basically genetically her kids, like what her kids would actually look like if she had kids, through her magic. And I do think like there's some idea there that she created them, through her magical womb or something, and that's why she got the same kids that she has in the other realities, you know
Yeah, 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 yeah.
She
Yeah,
basically
so
got the kids she would have had if she was with Vision, and I think the same way that she created all that initial stuff in Westview, sort of subconsciously, and like then made herself forget and all these things. Like the powers are doing a bunch of stuff that the power wielder is not actively consciously trying to do, which is part of why there's so much hubbub about people being able to control their powers.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, 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 yeah. So you could say, yeah, you could say the powers are in touch with it and all that. And I guess that's fine. But like, okay, so that I mean that's my main point, and like, pretty much everything else I have um is just kind of minor points. So there's a couple offshoots from that. Like, if I remember right, now correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while, but I think the kids had powers in WandaVision. Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
yeah, they do. Which is, I think I was going to bring that up too, to say that these kids doesn't seem like they have powers.
No. Did Wanda have powers?
Wanda
They
had
should.
powers. She
She did
didn't.
have
She
powers. The
didn't.
alternate
She
Wanda, I mean.
Yeah, the alternate Wanda. You see her create some energy balls, but she doesn't really throw them or really fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because yeah, like she was the experience, like it just left me with a lot of questions about where this Wanda came from, like what was her
hmm
experience. It was very unclear, and like it was sort of like this was just a scenario that Wanda wanted, but this alt Wanda like was just kind of in the way. That's actually something I liked about the plot, the
Yeah.
idea that um you know
She can't
like
just have those kids. Yeah,
you
you
would
can't
think
just.
like it
Yeah.
would just be a matter of, you know, like can't you just be, and this is basically what happens, like can't you just accept that like there's a version of you that has those kids?
Yeah. Yeah.
which you could say about just about anything when you talk about infinite multiverse,
Mhm,
like,
mhm.
sure, like, there's gonna be some stuff that sucks in your universe, that's true for everybody, I think,
Mhm, mhm.
but, like, there's one where that's not, and, anyway, the idea that, like, in order to have those kids, like, she has to kill the alt Wanda, like, she has to replace her,
Yeah. Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Well, she has to kidnap them, and I think I like that the movie walked us through that logic and walk Wanda through the logic there of going, well, okay, like, what are you gonna do with the other you who like has just has a, is their rightful mother and doesn't deserve to just be xed out because she's in the way, and then like those aren't your kids, and it gets into the question like what is the difference between people in the multiverses and stuff like that, and you know um are they that different? Can you just go take someone's life because it's like the version of you there, or not?
Mhm.
I think the answer is no. But yeah, I like that they had those moral questions about all that stuff, and that she
So,
was
yeah,
able to be reasoned with. I think that's another thing too that makes her a three-dimensional character is she was never quite unreasonable, with her train of thinking, and even by the end, like she's still because like a worse story would have been like the end of the climax, and then Wanda's kind of defeated, and then the other one goes, can't you just just know they'll be loved, and then Wanda is like, no, I must love them, and then like destroys everything, and then like someone has to kill her or something, you know what I mean? Like we've seen
yeah.
that version where like the villain is just less interesting, and so like they're not going to grow or change, so I did like that too, that they were able to give her that moment of being like, okay, yeah, yeah, after all I've done, okay, yeah, I can stop now.
Mhm.
Because like it's like, yeah, Wanda, this is the universe where you don't get what you want, but also this is the universe where you get to be Scarlet Witch, which is somehow sometimes how the universe works. It's like she wouldn't. I mean, this isn't necessarily true, but you can maybe infer from what we've seen that you know all of these tragedies is what kind of led her to become the most powerful she will become. So now it's kind of like how is she going to use that power? You know. So I'm curious what they're going to do with her character. Yeah, I have no idea where, like in the comics or anything, where she would go after this. Um, yeah, there is a famous thing in the comics where she killed all the mutants on Earth uh, by whispering "No more mutants,"
Oh, right. Yeah, you
which
mentioned that
is
before.
which is
Yeah.
Spanish. And I was like, "That's a flex right there. That's a Thanos needed an Infinity Gauntlet to do. He did the whole universe. Pretty big deal." But
Sure.
all the mutants on the planet with a couple words, yeah, that's pretty powerful. And that's what's crazy is
Indeed.
like, they keep up on the ante on these characters and their power level, right? So, we're seeing characters who can do like really crazy stuff, and it's only going to increase. So pretty soon, even What If started introducing like characters on like galactic scale powers and stuff like that, and yeah, I'm waiting to see how that's going to come into the movies and stuff, and as the stakes get bigger, because that was the thing, right? You had the first Avengers movie was about a threat. We've had the threats to New York and the threats to like the city level. We had the threat to the planet in Avengers. Um, we had a threat to the universe in Infinity War, right? And so now we're having these like multiversal threats where the stakes are even bigger because now it's everybody, and even they said, if a universe, what did they say? Like, oh, Steven, you caused an incursion that killed like 12 trillion people or something like that, or 2 trillion or some number. Um, but yeah, I'm curious to see, yeah, these next few Marvel movies, how they're gonna up the ante. And I know they have the Thor movie coming out, and another Black Panther this year.
Oh, right.
Excited for that.
Yeah. They're gonna have to like revision that, I guess.
Hmm.
Um uh yeah, just to like finish that nonsense. Uh so the kids didn't have power, so that was one thing. Seemingly like why did they have powers in her mind version but not they, it's like it's sort of like they're two alike but they're also not like enough. I don't know. Anyway, I got caught in that like brain loop. And then as a related note, where's Vision at? Like is he gone?
Mm-hmm.
Like what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Like it did the same thing happen? Like did they have Infinity War? Like it was very unclear. And like also, if I remember right from WandaVision, there's like a new Vision out there. They made a new
Mm-hmm.
one, and like the Vision from, I think the Vision she conjured like talked him into
Mm-hmm.
leaving or something,
Yeah.
and he flies off. And like I just thought it was weird that like he wasn't even really brought up. I mean, I think they mentioned him briefly, but
Mm-hmm.
I was really surprised it wasn't even addressed. Like, but what about Vision? Where is he? What's
Yeah.
going on? Like, she never seems remotely concerned about that. I don't know.
Well, it's not
I just
her
thought that was
vision.
a bit odd.
That's not her vision.
Well, sure, but those aren't her kids either. Like, you think she would want like, a version of this, like
Are you saying in terms of her
love
going
of
to a
her life.
multiverse?
No, I mean the one that's in her universe, but
Oh.
she could also go into the multi. I mean, either way,
I
just
mean, I
going
could see
after.
her. I could see her wanting a version of her vision, but the one that they reconstructed is just, like we don't really know. Like that's not the man she like fell in love. It's just a different thing, you know. And I think it would undercut to a certain degree. I mean, they can play it up however they want, but it would undercut like her grief and losing, having to say goodbye to the vision she created, right? Um, if she was just going to get him back again. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I think I could totally see her trying to find a universe where they're all together, and she has the whole perfect family. But yeah, they kind of have it where she's just upset about the kids.
Yeah, which is, I don't know. It just strikes me as a bit odd since that was like not, that was entirely from her mind, which is fine that she cares about it, even though it's from her mind. But it's just weird that the other thing that didn't come from her mind, at least not originally, doesn't. So anyway, that was just like bothering me as the plot played out. It was like
Yeah.
very focused on this one thing,
Mm-hmm.
um
Because it was
like
about her being a mother. Yeah, I mean that was really the whole theme. It was really focused. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And maybe
yeah,
it's because she didn't feel like she got to say goodbye to them the same way. Because she had to kill Vision the first time. She didn't really get to say goodbye, but she had 2 seconds.
yeah,
And then she played out the whole thing in Westview with the other Vision, and sort of got to say goodbye there. And yeah, it just seemed like it was the kid. That was the whole thing, right? She's dreaming. They start the story with her dreaming about the kids, not dreaming about Vision, not dreaming about anything else. So it's that classic thing that this is what needs to be resolved is the kids thing. You
right,
know, um, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, they done, I mean, the Vision stuff in a way was already there. um
Hmm.
but yeah, it's like, but then like in her coping with that, she conjured this new thing that now she's coping with. It's just like, stop doing that. It's just, you're just creating like things for yourself to feel like you're lacking,
You mean like life? That literally is what depression is. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna do these things that'll keep me depressed because I'm depressed.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, uh yeah, no, I mean, I know that was a point, but it's just, yeah, anyway. um it just seems like, but yeah, no, it's fine. But yeah, I guess I just yeah, I guess I just wanted more clarity on the connection and what was going on in this universe, and why isn't there one where they're orphans or something and she can like adopt them? I don't know, it's just like infinite universes. Like, I don't know, it just makes me feel like there should be a better way to solve this,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when you have that many options before you. The
Well,
infinity of possibility.
you sound like the people who are upset about Doctor Strange's call in Infinity War. They brought that up in the movie. When he's at Christine's wedding, the guy was like, "Is there no other way to stop Thanos than giving up the time stone and allowing him to get the gauntlet and snapping everybody out of half the people out of existence for. I think, yeah, I hear you. It's when you're dealing with the multiverse and infinite things, it's hard not to say, well, isn't there a better way to have this happen? And the answer is yeah, but maybe it's not as dramatic. you know the ones where
Sure.
they're orphans and they're eagerly waiting to be adopted isn't going to make a great movie. But yeah, I do
I
think.
understand. I
Yeah, I mean,
understand.
I get your point. I think there's the better versions of these stories. I think do a good job of um, not having those questions really linger in your mind, or they kind of find a way to sort of address it sometimes. Where you can just add to your suspension of disbelief. And go, oh, okay, well, I guess I had to do this one for this reason.
Hmm.
So yeah, so maybe there's more they could have done with kind of setting up why this was the one she had her sights set on. I mean, I think it was because that's literally the one she was dreaming about,
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I
and so
agree.
she went and found those actual ones versus any of the other ones she could have gotten.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it's one of those things. Hey, if she could do it over, she'd do it differently.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
cool. Anything else?
The other thing I thought is like, is it too on the nose to have a dark hold and a light hold? I don't know. It just struck me as
Well, it wasn't
that they're.
called the light hold, but I
I
mean, if
know.
you're
That's
the
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They called it something else, but like, that's what would it be too on the nose to just call it the light hold? Like, because it just seemed asymmetric. There's the dark hold, and there's this other thing that's like, I forgot
yeah,
what they even called it. It seemed to have nothing to do with the name dark hold. Anyway, that's a very minor point, but
uh, yeah, it's called the Book of Vishanti.
Shanti, yeah, yeah, that was it, yeah,
Well, the question is, why is it called that?
or Vishanti, okay,
Uh,
yeah,
it says the book is marked with the seal of Vishanti. Uh, Oh, the Vashanti are a trio of supernatural godlike entities who act as patrons for the sorcerer supreme and defenders of the earth realm. Okay. So that's why it's called the Book of Vishanti, because it's their book.
okay,
Um, but I get you. The the light hold.
yeah. It just seems like
I
like
mean,
the
to answer your
dark hold.
question, yes, it is two on the nose.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I was checking, because
Yeah.
when they introduced oh, there's a good version of the dark hold, it's called Vishanti. Like, what? Okay, if you say so, it's fine. But like, I don't know. I expect these mythical stories like this to be, you know, written in a way that's like,
Yeah.
on a mythic level where like things can just literally be, named symmetrically, and
Yeah, but if they're
like the
not
the
like
wicked witch of the
introduced,
west and the the
yeah, but
good
that's
witch.
when they're not introduced at the same time by the same people. That's when you get all these variations, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because it's like, oh, they have this thing, and then like 20 years later, somebody writes a story where they
It's a messy
discover,
comic book world where they're,
yeah.
yeah,
The
building.
Darkhold is also known as the Book of Sins, the Book of Spells, or the Book of the Damned, and is
I
created by
see.
the Chiton, which is a demonic entity referred to as the first demon who created the Darkhold atop the Wundagorn Mountain. It seems like they combined the origin of Scarlet Witch with this character. They're basically crediting Wanda, which I thought was an interesting reveal. They seem to imply
Yeah,
that Wanda created the Darkhold,
that's
or
definitely
not
right.
Wanda, but a previous Scarlet Witch created the Darkhold.
Yeah.
Um, and which reminded me of Lost and all of these sort of like self fulfilling prophecy things,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like a previous version of her did a thing that now the new version of her is gonna go do, and then she's like, "Oh, look what the previous version did. That must mean that," like, she's like, "I was born to rule," like, yeah. Anytime you have these type of time not time traveling, but like these things happening over a long time, it like makes it seem important.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah. I guess for another thing that like I was gonna nitpick, but then because of the way the story went, I was like, this isn't actually a valid nitpick. Like you were talking about that scene, that first scene where Doctor Strange goes to see Wanda, for her help, as it were.
yeah.
And she's like, "Oh yeah, I gave up my powers and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just hanging out here with my trees and my sheep and it's all real." And
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and I'm like, "No, you did not. That is not what happened at the end of one." Anyway, I was getting ready to rant about it, and then the reveal happened, and I was like, "All right, well,
yeah,
never mind."
yeah. I was confused about that reveal, because I didn't understand where she was and where he thought she was then. uh because she left Westview, right? I assume
Yeah,
she left Westview, and
I think
she's in
so.
like at the end of WandaVision. We see her in like a cabin in a lake or something. And so when he shows up, and she's kind of on this like farmland type area or something, it's got like an apple grove or orchard or something.
Mhm.
Um, I was thinking like, oh, because like he would have had to like fly to where he thought she was, or like, you know, um, teleport to where he thought she was, right? So he shows up, and he's not surprised. I mean, he looks around and it looks like nature, and he's like, oh, okay, apple trees, okay, great.
Mhm.
But then when she reveals actual reality, like I couldn't tell which one it was. She didn't reveal actual reality, right? Because where would she be that's like red on fire like hell like that, right?
Yeah, is
And
there a
so
place on Earth like that? No, I had the same question actually.
yeah,
I
so
wasn't
I
clear which way it went.
yeah, so and then she was donning her Scarlet Witch costume with it too. So I guess what I didn't even think about this. I guess what I would have to assume is that they were at a real place, and then she warped it to be like what her layer would look like,
Baron and
or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah, I guess I don't. Yeah, that's so weird. It was weird to me when that happened. I'm like, I don't understand. It can't just be an illusion, because it's not like he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go find Wanda. She's in that red wasteland,"
Mhm.
and then he shows up, and it's not like that.
It's a lot nicer than I was expecting. Yeah, no, I
For a
agree.
wasteland, this rug really ties the room together.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a good point. That's a good point. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I was just glad they weren't trying to like rewrite history and say like, oh yeah, after that Darkhold stuff at the end of WandaVision, then she decided to give up her powers. Like, I was thrown by that.
Yeah,
But yeah, what was going on in that scene? That's a good point.
yeah. I'm trying to read the plot description and see if they what they
Yeah, the
decided.
Wikipedia entry doesn't help at all. Is there a longer
Okay,
one?
no.
Because it just says like he talks to her and realizes she's behind the attacks. Like it really doesn't talk about where they are at all or any of that business.
Gotcha.
Like maybe there's a wiki somewhere that will like describe the scenes. Feels like there should be, but maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, I was trying to get the script because like there are a few lines I wanted to reference, but I couldn't actually find it. So I shan't be doing that. But if the scripts are out there, like the scripts might help explain what we're seeing there.
It's this wiki says he visits Wanda at her farm to ask about what she knows about the multiverse, but discovers that the farm is a chaos magic conjuration. Okay.
Oh, the farm
So
was the Conjuring. So she
yeah.
actually is in a crazy like fire world.
Just so weird. I don't understand how he got there then.
I mean, can't he just like open a circle and pop in?
But
Like,
doesn't he but wouldn't he have to know? Are you saying he just like was like, I need to find Wanda and he didn't know where she was?
can he do that? I don't know. Yeah. Well,
I thought he had
see,
to open a portal to know where he's going. Not
but
like just now.
I,
Now I think there's got to be spells where he could just find someone and intuit where they are. So maybe he did that and didn't know where the portal was going to open up to. But why would she be in a place that's all chaos magic like that? It's because she's a villain and that's
because
just what's
she's
killing.
embracing the dark hold and the yeah, I guess. I mean, that's what it represented in that scene, like the reveal, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So I guess that's what we're supposed to think. It's because they're revealing she's a villain, so she's got to hang out in a villainy place, like not an idyllic farm.
yeah, yeah. She's completely lying. She's like, yeah, put my magic behind me, and well,
Mm-hmm.
even when he's like, "Oh, this apple, flower smells real," she goes, "It is real, thank you."
Mm-hmm.
um, which just shows how powerful she is.
Mm-hmm. Um. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Another thing. This isn't a nitpick. This is just sort of a observation or something. Like, so that scene where she attacks the Camartage.
Camartage,
Am I saying that right? It's the
yeah,
first time I've seen it written. I had no
Camartage,
idea what word they were saying. It's basically that temple
yeah.
where the whatever you call them hang out. I don't know what they're called. Anyway, the group that has a sorcerer supreme and they train and do Doctor Strange type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they have a name, but anyway, or maybe they don't. Maybe they're the people at the Comitage. They just call them that. I don't know.
Camartagians,
Comertagians. Anyway, when she goes there to attack,
yeah,
they they sort of team up and like make a shield,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
around the place. Um, but then then she gets in
Mm-hmm.
their minds, I guess, and that sort of creates like cracks in the shield and that's how she gets in, like, that's her
Yeah.
loophole, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it reminded me both of the scene in Lost where, Bram puts the circle of ash around him, but then Smokey just, like, knocks a thing on top of him and knocks
Yeah.
him out of the circle and then kills him, and it also reminds me of that thing. I forget who that character was. I think it was some British guy, vampire in True Blood, where like he he glamored Tara into inviting him in from
Oh
outside,
yeah.
like ultimate loophole. Like, yes, you will invite me in now. This totally counts.
Yeah.
Anyway, I kind of like that idea um of I was surprised. I feel like she should have been able to break through if she really wanted to, but maybe that goes back to your point that she was kind of
Yeah,
holding
yeah,
back.
yeah. That was literally her, yeah, holding back. Because even honestly, like, she literally can just make things disintegrate, like with her mind, right? So she could have just like turned Camertage into dust,
Yeah.
everything there. So that was her being reasonable,
Yeah.
and like, even when she told the guy to run, she didn't make him kill other people or anything like that.
Right.
It's just like she just needs to get in there and get the thing and be done with it.
Right.
Um, Yeah.
Right.
Something else I was gonna say about that scene. I thought, I mean, America pointed out like, oh great, the person you asked for help is the person who's chasing me, and you told them exactly where I am.
Mhm.
Like a different version of the story would have had them actually go hide her in the multiverse somewhere, or at least use the portals to go hide other places around the planet. At least to
Mhm.
like say to like kill time or
Yeah.
to stall, but they just like, nope, let's just have it out here. Let's just get this over with and have a fight.
Mhm.
Because I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
any other normal time you would just retreat, especially if you're wizards or sorcerers who can open the portal.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, in general there wasn't a ton of downtime.
Hmm.
It was pretty pretty quick from thing to thing, and I guess that's what I was saying about Black Widow, they have more of those like just hangout scenes,
Yeah,
you
because
know.
they didn't have any plot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I enjoyed those scenes. I don't know, that was my favorite part of that movie. Like if you take those out, like I don't get very much out of that movie at all.
Hmm.
So anyway, not that they really should have added those to this one, but it's really just the main point. The the only point I could think of where I preferred what Black Widow did on that level.
Hmm.
But obviously, like in terms of the plot, it's better constructed here. And I care more about the characters, and the villain's better because it's not some boring asshole guy who's just doing whatever for stupid reasons.
I'll get my widows yet. Whatever he
Yeah,
said.
exactly. I'm pretty sure that was a line.
You'll never defeat me and my army of widows. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not
and
good.
and and the what's her name? Like, what was that character? The oh
The
god.
mom character?
The no, no, no. The it was like she was there when like like Black Widow like bombed a restaurant or something when she was a kid, and like disfigured her, and then they made her into like a robot
Oh,
super
her
thing.
character was
Yeah, I'm having trouble remembering the name of that
um
character.
it's something not copycat, but mix master? No.
Oh, that
Something
sounds really close.
something
I'm
master.
looking it up now. Taskmaster is what it
Taskmaster.
was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is Taskmaster.
Yeah. Yeah, like that was
Yeah.
so bad.
It
Like,
was
what was he
bad because they
doing?
retconned who that character, the origin of that character. That character's not supposed to be that lady like that. As far as I know, it has nothing to do with that origin. It's a guy. Like,
Mhm.
and the whole point of him is he's like can like copy your fight moves and stuff, and so he's like a formidable opponent for Black Widow because she's a great
Mhm.
fighter, and
Right.
then use any of that at all.
Nah, she
Like the
copied a
character
move
never
like
fight.
twice. It was very
Yeah.
minimal. It seemed like they didn't give a shit about that character, and they just wanted to like.
They seem like they didn't give a shit. Once they made it a sympathetic character, they're like, well, I guess we can't have her beat this character up.
Mhm.
So we're not gonna have a fight, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it was a waste. Um, but yeah, I guess I mean the other thing you said, the whole America Fifth Element, like this like sort of MacGuffin part of the plot. But I mean I think that's just par for the course in a story like
Yeah.
this. I mean,
Yep.
the MacGuffin has a name for a reason. Like
Yeah.
it's a useful idea.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
No,
It's
I
just
wasn't
not
bad.
gonna be the most interesting thing. But it served its purpose, and um it was a little bit paint by numbers, like they didn't really have a lot of the connective scenes to kind of make some things feel a little bit more, I guess, less rushed, maybe because it was pretty short for, it was like 2 hours. So
Yeah, what you're right. It wasn't super long.
yeah, so more character development with her and Strange, right, would have been
Mhm.
nice, but I think it's
Yeah,
like it would have been nice like conceptually, but I didn't necessarily miss it. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily
right.
think would have made the movie better. It just would have made those parts, get fleshed out more. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty happy with the movie overall. It's I think it's a good balance of like fun. I feel like I could rewatch it without, there being any parts that I really want to skip.
Mhm.
Because even in some of my favorite Marvel movies, there's parts where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna skip all this because it's exposition or it's downtime that's not interesting. Or like it's them going from location to location or whatever it might be. But yeah, I think this movie was pretty firing on all cylinders, pretty high. I even like the opening. I thought the opening was pretty cool. Like just I don't like flash forwards. Um,
I do.
or flashbacks to start a story.
Mhm.
And they were able to like have their cake and eat it too with like having something that felt like a flash forward because it's about a future event in which
Yeah.
they're getting close to getting the book, which
In
is
the middle of
ultimately what they
action,
want,
yeah.
and it's in the middle of the action, but it's technically a flashback because it happened before. I guess it was happening in real time when he was dreaming it.
Yeah.
um, but it kind of feels like a flashback, but then it's neither because it's an alternate reality. It's a different universe that he just happens to be connected to. And also, like, first time ever he's dreamed about another universe, or I guess not, since all dreams are.
Mhm.
I kind of wish they would have said, like, sometimes
Yeah,
dreams
I agree.
are.
I think they went too far with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a little or like the dream recurring dreams are of you in a different
Mhm.
universe, or like you know the dreams where you wake up in a cold sweat are the ones that, something
Right.
a little less you know total
All
total and then
encompassing,
yeah,
like every universe, everyone's just dreaming about everybody else. Like,
yeah,
just,
yeah.
isn't there a universe where they have like bodies that don't need to sleep or dream? I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I just want that multiverse to do a lot of work.
Yeah,
I'm kind of
yeah.
obsessed with that. Oh, sorry, that's my other nitpicky thing. It's fine. I'm not really mad about this, but the
Mm.
the whole idea of him like dreamscaping into his
The
zombie
zombie.
body.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Um
that. I love when he was like, who said it had to be alive?
Who said it had to be alive? Yeah.
Oh, I
And
love
that's
it.
fine. Like, I'm not going to
Yeah.
complain about that. But it did raise some questions for me about like the mechanics, like because it was from another universe,
Hmm.
does
Hmm.
that mean like I just started thinking about all sorts of bizarre scenarios,
The answer is yes.
like what if like you go to
Hmm.
another universe and now there's two of you there
Yep.
and then another version of you dreamwalks. Can they pick whichever one? Can they do both? Like what's
Yeah,
the
they pick.
they just pick the one they want. You
Yeah.
just get like whatever one that's you. If it's there, it doesn't matter where it came from.
Yeah. Yeah. It's buy one, get one free dream
I just
walking.
find that a bit odd that it works that way. I want it to be like a connection between the universes, but it isn't. It's like a connection between like you or yous.
Because
Like
it's like a spell you're casting. Yeah, it even could be that you could dream walk into other people's bodies. It might just be easier for you to control your own.
mm-hmm,
I don't really know, but I felt like the way they depicted it, it seemed like she had to kind of like find her in the space, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? It wasn't like an
Yeah.
instant connection. She had to go like it was almost like she was there in spirit, and then
Yeah.
her spirit had to inhabit the body, right? So that's why I feel like
Yeah.
you'd be able to pick. You'd be able to pick which one you wanted.
Pick which one. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I'll buy that.
multiverse is lenient that way. It lets you
That was
do whatever you
definitely
want.
like the most Evil Dead like
Yeah,
part of the whole thing. Um
absolutely.
uh
Oh man, when he traps Wanda in the mirror universe, which I gotta say I loved it. I love characters like trying to outsmart each other and stuff. But I love when she walks into a mirror universe trap and she gets trapped in the mirror universe and she's never seen it before, which is cool because that when it happened, I was like, oh shit, she's never seen this. She doesn't know what the fuck to do.
Mhm.
Because just because characters are super powerful doesn't mean they know what to do all the time.
Right.
Which I like that they explore that. So she didn't know what to do, and then she like uses her reality warping power to like break the mirror, which is breaking the universe. And she tries to throw her magic at it. It just bounces around, and she's like, "Oh shit, what am I gonna do?" And then she just like, "Okay, I'll just like use the surface of these reflections and like fucking find my way back to reality." I just thought that was so slick, and this the way they did it, and like I was like, this didn't even stop her for like 5 minutes. And then she slithers out from the fucking mirror. Like that was the height of the horror.
Oh, right.
When she comes out of the mirror all broken and twisted up, and you know, and then she proceeds to chase them. Where she's got like no, it's like Die Hard for some reason, where she's got no shoes on and her feet are bleeding, and so she's like limping as it's like Terminator. It's like
Mhm.
classic horror. Slasher stuff where it's like at certain points in that hallway she could have just like reached out and touched them. She was like so close. It was kind of comical. Um,
Yeah.
and but she's like, "I'm gonna get you,"
Mhm.
but she's like limping and bleeding, and it's really ridiculous. But it's like she needs them kids. She's got
Right.
to get that America. She needs
Mhm.
that power.
Get this
Anyway,
kid so
I
she can
thought
get
it was
those
cool.
kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I like that it was like they even brought up they're like, okay, well, why don't you just force America to take you to the universe you want to go to and then let her live? And she's like, well, why do you have to take her power? And she's like, well, but what if my kids get sick one day? I need her power so that I can never have a loss again. You know.
Yeah. That's that was getting close to like what I wanted. Like, can we just acknowledge the possibilities here? Like, there's a lot of ways this could go, and it doesn't have to be just this one thing,
Mm-hmm.
but like really like you want to take someone's power so that your kids don't get sick. So you're gonna like hop universes to like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like
There's nothing a mother wouldn't do for her children. I also thought it was funny having this plot, ironic this plot, the movie came out on Mother's Day weekend. So there's a lot of mothers who got to hear those lines that I think were smiling. Every mother does. I love that line. Every mother makes their children from magic. Like, come on, like, what are you talking about here? All right. Anything else?
uh I
What were
don't
your favorite parts? Did you already talk about your favorite parts?
what were my favorite parts? Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good question. That's a good question. Um I think I'm trying to think. I think my favorite parts were I think actually my favorite parts were the stuff about the stuff involving these like alternate worlds with
Mm-hmm.
like alternate superheroes and alternate versions of
Mm-hmm.
Doctor Strange, and like vaguely exploring like some of the stuff that happened there, you
Yeah.
know. I kind of like that idea again because going along the lines of like developing the multiverse like a little more,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just it seeming like there's only two places you could go, you know.
Mm-hmm.
um the regular world and the one with the kids, like it fills in some a few other places, and I just like that idea um of sort of these like slightly twisted, I mean it's doing that Flash Sideways thing of like taking something that's familiar but like just
Mm-hmm.
altering it a little bit. I don't know, I thought that was just a fun idea. And um like people have been I've seen people talking about bringing the um the X-Men into
Yeah.
the MCU.
Yeah.
It still hasn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is like the closest they ever got, I think, so far.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like to actually have,
That's why
you
it's
know,
huge. Yeah, it's huge to basically say this version of Professor X exists in the MCU now, and it's just a matter of like them being specific about when they introduce the X-Men. Are they coming from a different universe?
right.
Is their version already in our universe? We just haven't seen them yet, or something.
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing. But yeah, that was super cool. Seeing Reed Richards, that was a big thing too. Like seeing John Krasinski cast as Reed Richards is interesting.
Oh, is that from something?
That's from Fantastic Four. Yeah, he's Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Okay. And that, so, okay.
So those are
When is
Fox
that
movies as
from?
well. Yeah, they had
Oh,
two. They had two Fantastic Four movies. Neither did very well.
oh, okay. Okay. And those are MCU movies?
Those aren't technically MCU movies, but I
Okay.
think they're getting added as canon, perhaps.
Okay.
Now
Okay.
that the Fox stuff is under Marvel now or Disney.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't come out as Marvel movies in terms of
Okay.
Marvel Studios. They were Fox movies.
Okay.
Yeah, they predate
I
Marvel
see.
Studios,
I see.
or at least one of them does.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. Got it.
Because that's the thing with the multiverse. Like they can just say those movies happened in a different universe, right?
Right,
And
right,
then
right.
now it can be canon, and it's just a different universe.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, wait, which version is he in? God, I'm looking at like a million of these and I can't even finding millions of other people playing this guy. Okay.
Who are you talking about? Oh, he's not in. He's new, so this is new casting.
Oh,
He's not
okay. He's
in.
not in the previous
He's
movies.
not in the
Okay.
previous movies. Yeah, this is brand new casting.
Okay. Okay. Can you explain the voice? Like the voice he's doing?
Did he do a voice?
Okay. Now, you didn't think he was doing a voice?
I mean, I thought he was acting. I didn't think he was doing
Well,
like
I
a.
agree he was acting, but I okay, like I watched The Office at least like the early seasons, right? So I've
Uh-huh.
seen John Krasinski. I saw more recently, which is more relevant for this. Like I saw Quiet Place Part 2,
Yeah.
and they had he did a little intro for it where it was like, thanks for coming back to a movie theater, like blah blah
That's
blah.
funny.
So he was like talking, you hear him, and like the voice he's using in that scene, like I didn't even think it was him when I first saw him. I'm like, well, it looks like John Krasinski, but then as soon as he started talking, I'm like, that's not him, that's somebody else, or
Yeah, I
they
don't think he's
or they
using his
overdubbed
regular.
him or something.
I think he's. I heard his voice as just playing the character. Like he's has a lower register, a more serious tone. Because Mr. Fantastic kind of has that. He's like a leader and things. I thought he was just being like trying to have more like weight to the situation and with his character. That's how it came off to me. It didn't sound weird. Yeah, it didn't like catch my ear as like being weird. I didn't really pay attention to it.
I just didn't think it was his voice. That was the thing that was throwing me. And so it made me think it was somebody else who just looks like him, but has a different voice. Anyway, I went through a lot. And then it made me think like, oh, is this character like noted for like speaking really low? Like, is that like a thing? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, nothing I know of.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Anyway, yeah, I think all those characters die basically.
Hmm.
Um, but which
Which is great. It's so cool that Marvel's able to just be like, yeah, here's all the people you want to see, and they're gone because like we're gonna set up these other characters, guys. Don't worry,
right,
you'll see them later. So it's just like a way to appease the fans,
it's
but
a
like
tease.
not
Yeah,
really commit to these people being those characters.
yeah. Yeah.
Black Bolt, the guy who played Black Bolt, is actually from the TV show Inhumans. So having him here
Oh.
did bring Inhumans into the canon, the MCU canon. That show was awful. If you
Oh
want to see
no.
the worst thing ever with Marvel connected, I think that show is
What's it
probably
called? Inhumans?
Inhumans. Yeah, yeah, it's really, really, really bad.
Oh man. Well,
Yeah,
now I'm
it's
interested.
horrible. Yeah, it's not. So it came out kind of before.
2017.
Yeah, it didn't come out from my memory. It didn't come out from Marvel Studios. It's an ABC production. It was like an
Yeah,
ABC
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it
So
came on
it doesn't have the
ABC.
same, like Agents of Shield is the same way, where like it predated kind of MCU. It was outside of the canon for a long time and kind of recently got added.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually a well written show and it's good.
Right.
But Inhumans was awful, god awful. But anyway, that character Black Bolt is in it, and so him being here means that that's at least that universe is here. But yeah, they killed him too because she's like, "What mouth?" Because he's got, as you saw, he's got the power. Like he's, I actually was reading about him. Like his brain um, creates an unknown molecule that like when he speaks and things, it can like amplify like energy or something like that. So one of his main powers is like whenever he speaks, um, it has this like insane concussive force that can like destroy the planet if he spoke too loudly or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he's never supposed to talk. And then he screams in his own head and kills himself,
Right.
um, which is pretty. Which again is very horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, like the thing from Scanners.
Hmm. And you saw Captain Carter use the phrase "I could do this all day."
Yes, of course. Yes, I
Yeah.
definitely appreciated that. Yeah, see that was like, I was listening to the season 6 podcast and like I talked about it before on one of the book podcasts that like the Flash Shadows was really like intoxicating to me at first because it was like playing off of this stuff that was familiar but kind of changing it. Like I
Hmm.
think I'm really susceptible to that kind of thing. So I think that's probably why I enjoyed that the most,
Hmm.
and it sort of tied in with the plot, but it was also kind of a tangent, Um, yeah, I think that was probably my the favorite part of the movie. Um, I guess because it was the least expected. Like I was not going in expecting that on any level.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I was completely surprised, and it was the only thing I had to go off of was the what if stuff. So they had set up
Mhm.
some of the characters and the concepts, but yeah, it was so cool. And then when Professor X comes out, and you're just like, Patrick Stewart, living legend,
Yeah.
he's just, can do no wrong except for Picard season one,
Right.
and potentially season two, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, yeah, that's when I'm the biggest fanboy is when it's just like he's not even doing anything. He's just on screen, and
Mhm.
it's the best thing ever.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, just I like that treat that I didn't even think to expect, I knew
Hmm.
I was going to
Hmm.
get Doctor Strange. I knew I was going to get
Yeah,
Wanda,
yeah.
all of that, which I mean, it's not that I didn't like those parts of the movie, but yeah, the it was just a pleasant surprise.
Hmm.
Um to get those. Yeah. I mean, already I enjoyed it even without Patrick Stewart in there.
Yeah.
But it was definitely uh it took it up a notch.
Yeah, and then you got to see the Monica Rambeau as Captain
Yep,
Marvel,
yep, yep.
which was really interesting.
Yep, I appreciated that definitely more from the stuff I watched.
Yeah,
Yeah, if John Krasinski
that's what's
hadn't done that
cool.
weird ass voice, I think nothing would have
You
bothered
just
me.
You just wanted him to look at the camera as if he was in the
I
office.
did. I
Yeah.
did.
Like, can you believe Doctor Strange over here? Wah wah.
Face.
Yeah.
Oh God. Jim looking at the camera. Yeah, that's oh classic downfall of that show. Um
Well, all right. Anything else before we wrap it up?
uh no, I think we I think we hit most of the things
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted to talk about. I'm trying to think if I'm missing something. I don't think so. Let's see. Da, da, da. No, no, no. I think that's it.
Cool. Yeah. Well, yeah, it was fun. I'm often disappointed when I have high hopes for movies.
Yeah, me too.
And I was very pleasantly like I literally bought tickets to two showings before I even saw it the first time. I was just
Wow.
like, I know I don't want to wait. I bought, it came out like on Thursday. I bought the best tickets I could get on a Friday night. And then I was like, I know I'm gonna want to see this again. At least I hope I'm gonna go see this again soon. So I bought tickets for a Sunday night show, and yeah, yeah. Even the second time, I was still entertained. It was still interesting, So it's got some life in it. It's not too much of like a one and done movie, which is nice. But yeah, very very happy that they were able to pull it off, um, and just the Doctor Strange character, again, obviously, like opens up things other character, stories other characters can't go into. So I think he's inherently has the capacity to have kind of more interesting stories. And they actually were going to introduce Wanda in the first Doctor Strange movie.
Oh.
Yeah, she was actually going to be introduced in that movie. And then I think I read like basically um, some some issues with the timing and some other things. Oh, I think it was. Now I forget the story I read. But basically, she got introduced in Age of Ultron.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, that reminds me. Another weird thing that just kind of goes by is like I think if I caught it correctly, there's like an army of Ultrons or small.
Yeah, so that was supposed to be. So what I took that to be is this is a universe where in the plot of Age of Ultron, like they actually succeeded. They created Ultron, which is a network of machines that will guard the planet,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't turn evil.
Right. That
Basically,
part
it
didn't
worked.
happen.
Yeah, that part didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when I first saw them, like, wow, that's weird. They look like Ultron. Oh well, I guess it's
Mhm.
a coincidence. But then I think they said it later, and I'm like, oh, that's
Yes.
weird. It's
Hmm.
Ultron, but like like not
Yeah.
crazy. Like, okay.
Yeah, and to go a completely different direction, the opposite direction is you should watch What If. I think you'll enjoy it. Like if you like the multiverse
Mm-hmm.
stuff and the like characters who were different but similar, and like what if you went left instead of right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it works on those levels. It's really well done, and they're not to spoiling it, but there's a What If called What If Ultron got the Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh, okay.
It's
Nice.
one of the best. It's one of the best episodes. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, no, you're probably right. Based on my liking for that kind of thing,
Hmm.
that's probably they they kind of did that. Well, they didn't really do it in you know, I think was it Infinity War or Endgame? I guess it was Endgame where they were like hopping through time, and they got to like revisit the thing from the first Avengers movie, like walk through that.
Hmm.
Uh that's not exactly the same as like an altered thing, but I also like that idea. of like reincorporating or revisiting like a thing from earlier, and giving it a new context or meaning or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm.
Um so yeah, that's it's animated, right?
It's animated, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. I'll uh I'll check that out. I'm curious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my nitpicks are relatively small. I think like overall, like it definitely functioned well as a movie, and I just cared more on a plot
Mm-hmm.
level, and I think um I mean if they had hangout scenes that were as good as the ones in Black Widow, you know, maybe I would have liked it slightly better, but all the other levels that the movie worked on, I don't know, and like scenes like that might detract from the propulsion of the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to sit around when like there's not that much interesting going on in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I also, yeah, I mean, me, it's, what, once it's like everybody's flying around and throwing things at each other, like I check out a little bit. So that stuff is like I could live without it, but I know it's gonna happen, so I just
Mm-hmm.
kind of strap in
How you
and
can live without the best part is the weirdest thing to me.
yeah, like I could really just cut to the point. Like they could just throw like one fireball and like I'd be fine.
Uh, that's like, oh, I want my Shakespeare without soliloquies, or something. It's just like,
Yeah,
I
no,
need
you're totally
my.
right. You're totally right. It's. I think it was my main barrier to getting into this stuff because all these movies have like very strong like action elements, and it's not that I've never liked an action movie, but typically when I like action movies, the
Mm-hmm.
actual action scenes are not my favorite part.
Mm-hmm.
That's just that's just
And
a
see, I'm
problem I
getting
have.
off on I'm getting off on all the magic. Like even the very beginning, like the ponytail Doctor Strange was like using some kind of like ice magic. Like all his spells were like ice based
Mm-hmm.
because he's fighting this fire monster, and I'm just like, that's the fucking coolest thing ever. Like like just that detail to me. Like I get off on the details of
Yeah.
like, oh shit, okay, he's fighting this thing, and he realizes at a certain point, like, oh, he's got to use his ice spells, which we've never seen him like use ice spells before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, cool, like we get to have this sequence where he's using ice spells.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I'm the complete opposite. Obviously, I love I love all that stuff. The conjuring and the spell casting and the special effects and the like create a shield, and like in the way the shield gets created. I mean, I rewatched the end of WandaVision before this movie, and I gotta tell you, like the fight scene with her and Harkness at the end,
Mm-hmm.
they're like flying around, throwing fireballs at each other,
Mm-hmm.
but then it's revealed that Wanda was actually casting runes,
Right.
the whatever it is, the walls of the
Mm-hmm. The barrier or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever, yeah. And yeah, I love that. I love that stuff. That's when I'm the youngest child ever again, and I'm like completely just 5 years old and magic.
Sure, sure.
That's why I didn't like Lord of the Rings in the beginning, because I wanted magic. I
Right.
wanted spells. I wanted my wizard to be casting spells, not whispering tactics in people's ears and
Right.
and
Right.
and and changing the course of history
Getting
through
mad all the
like
time.
strategies. Um,
Walk
uh,
faster, damn you.
yeah.
He's so mean. Anyway,
Oh, Mary. Oh, Pippin. They're always doing something wrong.
on that note, I do have to mention the like magic music notation fight. Like that was real weird. I don't know that I really liked it, but it was definitely
I
memorable.
thought it was weird and it was memorable. I saw it twice, and the second time it was still weird. It reminded me of Scott Pilgrim,
Me too. Yeah,
where they're
yeah.
fighting with
I mean, I
music.
shouldn't say me too because I didn't even think of Scott Pilgrim, but like now that you say it, like that's
Yeah.
100%
It
what.
was the fighting with music and the, like what I liked about it, again, was the creativity and the tactics of, like, what do you do in the moment to fight or cast a spell, and he's using the thing that's around him, and so but and then the whole concept of, like, music-based magic was interesting, and then, like, there's another concept of just, like, getting the music from the physical notation of music. So
Mhm.
not like, oh, I have to go play the piano, and then when the sound is generated, I can turn that sound into a spell. It's like,
Yeah,
no, I'm gonna like bring the music to life off the paper and then
right.
turn that into like, and it's like, are they only dangerous because they're sharp, and any letter on a piece of paper could have been turned into a weapon, any marking, it was it made me think, I don't know how successful it was, because it was like I liked it, but it was weird. That's the best thing I can say about it.
Yeah,
It
I
was
had
like a
kind of the
little
same
too
reaction.
weird. Where I'm like, it didn't really fit the tone. I think that's probably why it doesn't sit well 100% to me. Was it felt a little childish
Mhm.
coming at that point in the story with
Yeah.
those two characters. It's like the darkest Doctor Strange he's talking to,
Mhm.
literally at the end of his universe. Um, so it
Yeah.
was weird to have that music bait, but I like the creativity of it, and I like it again, like the ice magic thing. I like them broadening the world of what magic is and stuff like that. But yeah, it
Mhm.
was awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had forgotten about that until you mentioned the ice magic because yeah, it really threw me. It was like, what did they do? Why is it like this? This is so
Hmm.
weird. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it doesn't totally work, but it sticks out because it's just such a strange idea that I've never seen them do anything like that before.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next time, maybe with Thor: Love and Thunder or Black
Ooh,
Panther
I
2.
definitely intend to see Thor: Love and Thunder
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
record.
Yeah.
I, uh, through the Avengers, I definitely enjoyed that character, and I also enjoyed Thor Ragnarok quite a bit. Um, so yeah, I
Hmm.
fully intend to see that one. So yeah, whenever that comes out, we can definitely talk about that.
Cool. All right. We'll catch you next time.
All right, see you later. Bye, everybody. Awkward goodbyes. See you, see you. Here we go.